Hey guys, Chris here, welcome back to Ghost of Tsushima once more, and today let's take a look at those really awesome legendary combat skills that you should definitely go ahead and unlock as early as possible. Not only do these look absolutely amazing, but they also deal some of the highest damage you can pull off in this game, which makes them perfectly suited against the tougher enemies and bosses that you will start encountering as you progress through the game. So in this video I kinda wanna cover everything you need to know about them, including where you can find and unlock these skills, how you can upgrade them, as well as the best way to use them in combat. As always, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would be super awesome, and let's jump right into it. I also want to give a huge shout out to Instant Gaming once more. As you've known, they've been a huge part of this channel for the past year, as they constantly organize a ton of giveaways for you guys, but they also sell games at some of the cheapest prices you can find around, to the point that this is now my main website when it comes to buying games really cheap. So if you also enjoy really nice gaming discounts, definitely go ahead and check out the links in the description box down below, as well as in the pinned comment. Let's begin with the Heavenly Strike. I've talked about this in previous videos, one of the must-have early on abilities. You can unlock this by completing the mythical tale with the same name. The easiest way to do this is to go directly to the River's Fall Bridge, where you will find this musician that will start the quest for you as well. You can also talk with people at the Golden Temple, by the way, that will also reveal his position on the map if you are struggling with finding him. But otherwise the mission is rather straightforward. You will have to trail this master that created this attack in the first place, but on your way you're going to find out that Mongols are also searching for the master to learn the abilities for themselves. Eventually you're going to reach this place where you will have the final encounter with the boss that you will have to defeat if you want to unlock the ability. But otherwise this deals quick unblockable attack that deals extra damage against staggered enemies, and just like any other mythical attack, it also has a chance to terrify your enemies, which is absolutely amazing, especially later on in the game. You can activate this by pressing triangle and circle at the same time on your controller, and it's going to cost you 1 resolve meter in order to pull it off. But this is something that's best used after having already broken the enemy's defenses first, so you can also benefit from the extra damage. So the best course of action is to switch to the stance that is the most appropriate for the current enemy that you're facing, break off his guard using triangle attacks, and after that is done, immediately pull off a Heavenly Strike that's most likely going to one-shot that enemy and terrify pretty much everybody around them. It can also be casted multiple times, by the way, so if your first one kinda misses and the enemy is still in his stagger, you can pull a second one off, assuming you have resolve meter left, and that's going to absolutely just shred everything in the early game and even in the end game. But while you're still in Act 1, I recommend you go ahead and do the second mythical tale for the other attack that I'm gonna show you, as well as a very awesome longbow weapon. This is called, of course, the Curse of Uchitsune mythical quest. You can get this just north of Hiyoshi Springs, where you will find this other musician that's going to put you on that path. But basically you have to follow a series of clues that eventually are going to bring you to this shrine right here. And here is where you will find two very awesome things. The first one is that longbow weapon, which is amazing, more on that in just a little bit, but also the second mythical ability, which is the explosive arrow, or should I say mythical item, because this is going to be an item that you can replenish in your inventory and even further upgrade. Again, defeat the boss at the end and then you're going to unlock these two, and here's a few things that you should know about them. First of all, the longbow is an amazing sniping weapon. It deals much higher damage than the half bow. It basically pierces some of the armors that enemies have, but the downside is that it takes a little bit longer to draw in the arrows. But you also get access to those explosive arrows, as I was saying. You can only use them with the longbow, and it's one of the best abilities you can use against large groups of enemies, as it does two things. First of all, it causes an explosion that will deal high damage and break off enemy guards, and second of all, it also sets enemies on fire for further damage over time. Furthermore, you can also increase your arrow capacity by up to 6, so you can hold up to 6 explosive arrows in your inventory, which is again going to be devastating, especially against those very large groups towards the end of the game. But otherwise, let's move over to the third one, which is none other than the Dance of Wraith, and likely my most favorite ability in the game. It basically lets you launch from 3 enemies to one another and kind of deal some really high damage and stagger, and also terrify enemies if you take them down. But this is going to be a reward from another mythical tale in Act 2 called the Spirit of Yarikawa's Vengeance. You can get this by speaking to the musician just south of the ruins of Old Yarikawa in the Toyotama part of the island again in Act 2. For this mission, you're going to have to follow a trail of white smoke to chase down the spirit that keeps killing people, and eventually you are going to stumble upon it in this really awesome like garden over here. I've encountered it during the night and it looked absolutely amazing. I'm not sure if the story also happens during the day, but this was by far one of my favorite like missions in the entire game. Now, just like in the case of the previous mythical tales, this boss also uses its staple Dance of Wraith attack, so you're going to either have to dodge away from it very far or simply have those unyielding skill points into the deflection skill tree that will make it possible for you to parry these attacks. But eventually you're going to defeat her and this is going to unlock the skill for you. Now, the skill this time around costs 3 resolve to activate, and you do so by pressing R1 plus L1 on the controller. Once you do that, it's going to deal 3 consecutive unblockable attacks that deal really high damage, and they also automatically make you jump between targets that might be far away from one another. You can also use this on one single target, and if you do so, it's going to land all 3 of the attacks for really high damage as well as a ton of stagger. But you have to be careful because the charge up of this ability is a little bit longer than the previous one, so it's not going to be instant like the Heavenly Strike, which is why it's very recommended to kind of wait for an opening before you do this. If you're surrounded by enemies that are about to land attacks on you, maybe just like dodge away or run away and then start using the ability. But what I like most about this ability is the fact that you can combine this with the Heavenly Strike, especially against bosses, to absolutely shred them. So if you have like at least 4 resolve bars, you can go in, start with the Dance of Wraith. This is going to both deal high damage to the boss as well as breaking his guard more often than not, and then you can immediately follow with a Heavenly Strike, which basically is going to deal extra damage since the boss had his guards broken. So again, a really amazing combo, but even like against groups of enemies, it deals a ton of damage because you're just jumping all over the place and you're just terrorizing enemies left and right. Finally, this brings us to the last ability called the Undying Flame that you get from the mythical tale called Way of the Flame. You get this very early on in Act 3, so it is going to be towards the end of the game, but if you just reached like Act 3, it came in just in time because it's going to be perfectly usable against many of the enemies over there. Otherwise, once you reach this temple right here, you cannot miss it. The story brings you to it anyway. Just slightly north of it, you're going to find the musician that puts you on the path for the tale. During it, you're going to have to reach the mountain summit, but on the way you're going to have to encounter a blizzard that can also freeze you to death, so you kinda use these campfires to reach the top, otherwise you might just die. But at the top there's a warrior that you will have to fight, and he is going to teach you that incendiary oil recipe that's going to light up your weapon. To activate this, you're going to have to pick it from the quick menu and then press R1, and this is going to set your sword ablaze. But this is an amazing ability for one single reason, and that is because it completely bypasses defenses. Even against enemies with shields like these big brutes with like the oversized shields, you can simply activate this and set the sword on fire, and you're going to be able to immediately attack them without the fear of being blocked, because these attacks cannot be blocked. So you can do about 4 or 5 of these attacks until the flames are extinguished, but this deals high damage, it sets enemies ablaze, quickly breaks guards, and it exposes them to other types of damage like the Heavenly Strike attack. If you want to make this even more powerful and enable this kind of build even more, you can also combine it with something like a Charm of Enduring Affliction that makes stuff like burn damage to last longer and also deal more damage by 50%. So a really nice combination. I am probably going to make a build all around this really soon. Just like in the case, of course, of the Explosive Arrow, this is something that you physically hold in your inventory, so you can increase the capacity at a trapper to a maximum of 4. Anyway, this is it for now. These are all of the mythical skills and how you can find them, as well as all of the best ways you can use them in combat. Let me know down below if there's other tips and tricks that I might have missed regarding these abilities. Have you discovered these, and if so, how many of them have you discovered up until now? As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on it. Also subscribe, that would be super awesome, and I will see you guys in the next one. So peace out.